Hey, you got a nice stash going there.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to another edition of Red Thunder. It's Thursday, July 20th. August 20th. Not only do I not know what day it is or month, anyways, it is August 20th.
It's all the
Uh,
wrong year, and
yeah. Well,
that's a
listen, we
cover.
were talking about growing the revolution. And before we get started, Charlie Angus had something on his Substack um, about a giant El Nino, a giant El Nino developing in somewhere in the Pacific,
Yeah.
and it's going to hit. Um, and he said the last time there was an El Nino that big was in the late 19th century,
Oh.
and it was big enough to cause worldwide weather disruptions
Uh-huh.
and flooding and famine, and millions of people died. So while this other gigantic El Nino is developing as we speak, which I have no way of verifying because I'm not a scientific researcher, but let's say that it is happening. And the world leaders are all discussing the Strait of Hormuz, oil, um, other things, but they're not discussing impending global disaster. Now, what
Yeah.
are we
th-
supposed to do if that does happen? You know,
Okay.
us little folks out on the boonies here.
Okay. To begin with, whether people accept it or not, because they've been improving on their ability to affect and control the natural order in relation to storms. Now, they've been at it since the 50s, I believe. The technology was in place, they said, in the late 40s. It hadn't been tested other than, I believe it was in the early 60s, they started to test it. Now, they claimed back then, it came to light in about 75, 76, that they had the ability to control storms. If there were a storm, they had the ability to send it and control it to a certain area. Now, the last report I heard is they have even perfected the technology since. So he's probably, it's not inside information. They've been saying it for a while. And so I look at it this way, it's somewhat pre planned. Now, I can say that, but again, they're always looking for proof. Well, if you have the ability to do that, you're not going to make it 6 o'clock news. You're not. They're not going to because they don't care for people. They care for their immediate interests. That's their immediate family and their heirs. We're talking about the world elite. Now, where these storms, now they can predict them. How do they know? How did he now all of a sudden see? He's probably just informing people because they really don't like him because he's always standing up for, primarily the Indian people here, even though it's in the box stuff. But still, they consider him a threat. So he's not really in the know as a lot of them are, meaning they have no knowledge of this technology, the way it operates or whatever, but they accept it. They don't understand it totally, but they accept it. That it's happening. Now, having said that, there's two reports. You've probably seen them, but the one guy, he's very specific about what he's saying, and he shows how the fires were started in northern Ontario. There was, I believe it's two reserves that were completely burnt out, housing, everything. People lost everything. Now, they were all in the same area, so there were six reserves. And the way he tells it, the fires were in line. They all started and they went this way all at the same time. Rows of them, 6 fires. So what I said earlier about they better be careful, they start pointing at the thunders.
Yeah.
Very careful. So now, having that knowledge, so a lot of people say, well, I'll wait till it's confirmed. Confirmed by who? So they're not, see, they put it in a way where the people will question, oh, well, is that believable? Is that really going to happen? How can they predict that? So they're in a state of question, a gray area. They're not sure. At the same time, they know that it's happened before. And they know all these other things that are being reported about the instigation of fires globally. It all happened the same year, pretty well the same time around the globe. So that's a sign that they're setting up the system of total control. Smart cities, something 15-minute cities. Whatever you want to call them, it's real. But first of all, they got to drive the people off the land. Now, the American Indian is the first ones on their hit list because we're the only ones that can stop it, or control it, or expose them using our law. So, to me, that's it in a nutshell. Whatever they think they can do, it won't happen. See, where my assessment includes everything. It's always complete. It's the whole picture. Otherwise, I wouldn't discuss it. So when I talk about the purest form of energy, people are using it. They're wasting it in the box, worrying about all the propaganda that's being fed them. They worry about, is this true? Is it not? All those questions within them. The point of it is, it was created for them to be that way. So they're unsure. So they're actually in purgatory on this one, if you will. You know what I mean? In the middle of nowhere. Because most of all, they don't know because their spiritual energy has been wasted. Because that involves the mind particularly. The mind has a power as long as your spirit is strong. So a lot of them, they're mindless because they're always looking to the guy who created the problem to fix it. Just like Indian Affairs, everybody complains to Indian Affairs when they created the problem. They all go to the courts. Why? Because they think the resolve is with the white man who created the problem. Could go on and on. but it's not just my perception of it. And I don't use the word belief. That's what I've come to know. So I'll pass that on. So Charlie's concerned. Well, Charlie should be.
Well,
You know,
he did cite some credible sounding source. I mean, I don't think he just made it up or, went to some conspiracy theory site and pulled something off there. He did cite some real credible source. But
well, he's got a good good podcast because he wouldn't. Like you're saying, he wouldn't be saying that unless he had backup.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
I'd say
Yeah,
that as well.
yeah. But I think
But to what depth?
yeah. So what if, let's say the Earth is gets destroyed or really badly beaten up? I have faith in the Creator. I have faith in the
Yeah,
ability of the Mother Earth to replenish herself because she's done it
yeah,
many times and can do it again, no matter what we do or what they do. But
yeah,
in practical terms, like we were talking about the food that we're getting that's so bloody expensive now, can barely afford anything. And what are we supposed to do to grow our own stuff? Instead of buying cauliflower at Safeway at for $10 for a big cauliflower, like what do we do?
yeah. See, where I've been for years collecting seed, and the seed I collect, some say heritage seed. No, I want seed, and I have seed that's pure. Some they use the term organic. Use that term if you will, the point of it is, this is seed that will go to seed and it's clean. And I'm talking about generations. Uh, West Coast Seeds, for example, that's a good place people should get all they can now. They used to be a small outfit. The hippie days, long-haired guys with all they had was a warehouse that they used to deal out of, but they had a permit to deal in organic foods, organic food products. And they expanded. Today they got trucks with their name on it. Uh, they're a big outfit now. But the point of it is they still distribute clean seed, and they also have clean food. We made a purchase years ago, when we're in the mountains off the grid, $2,300 worth of food from them. Prices were a lot different then. And we also got help from a woman, she passed now. She used to help us quite a bit. She was wealthy. So she was glad to share with us because she knew that the way she said it, she knew we were on the right track. So she sponsored us more than half of that order. I was very good of her. So we lasted a long time. We got things that last for a while. Number one, honey. Uh, there's wild bees out there and they have big hives. But you got to know what you're doing if you're going to go and farm natural honey out of a big beehive in a tree. I wouldn't bother. But when you look at everything that is so vital in relation to food and your health, that's what you got to look at. What will sustain our lives? Primarily things such as honey, uh, really lots of good nutrients in the honey. For the water, I've never drank tap water for years. But we could get ours just out of the rocks out here in the mountains, pure, right out of the ground, which I'm drinking now. The point of it is, people are saying things like, "Oh, we've achieved food sovereignty." Now, that's just secularizing something that should be complete. Why separate? Sovereignty is sovereignty. In other words, if you want to use the term independence, then you're making sense. But you don't say, well, we're working towards food sovereignty. What good is the food if you aren't a sovereign and they come after you and decide that, listen, you haven't abided by our law that says you can't have that garden that you're growing in the back. It's against the law. You see what I mean? So the protection, again, has got to be complete, true sovereignty. They can't touch you. They can't disturb you. Having said that, we've experienced it. We were told by an agent representing the Crown for the rest of the bureaucracy that has to answer to the Crown, it's Government of Canada, and we're told we're to be left alone, not to be disturbed. That was when we moved to the mountains. Totally off the grid. Gardens grew. People were saying that they'll never grow out there. Well, they did. Because we followed the old ceremony of the other tribes, Hopis and the Dene, or Navajo, they say. We followed their system where the women plant, not the men. On a certain day of the full moon, the growing moon. When it's done properly, everything will come up, which it did. Even the little girls were to put on long skirts, bare feet, with a little stick, and they poke a small hole in the ground, put your seed, move on. That's what we did in the mountains. People couldn't believe it when they saw the size of the potatoes, which they could never grow before. The size of everything. Garlic grew out there. People couldn't believe it. Everything that we planted grew. And when I got back, I built a about 38-foot greenhouse. Made it like a sweat lodge, out of willows. And it worked. The corn was so tall, it was pushing its way through the plastic I used. Really strong, clear plastic. So I thought, well, next time we're going to have to build it higher and bigger. That was what we had, the greenhouse, and we also had the other garden. Now, it should have been bigger than what we planned or what we did plant. It should have been bigger because we could have been able to supply the village as well instead of them having to go uptown. Well, we did some, but primarily it was for us, for all of us who were in camp. Now, so we went right off the grid totally. There was no generators run on gasoline or anything like that. We went to bed when the sun went to bed. We got up when the sun got up, and we had a good life. Things started to work for us. Now, in order for us to get there, like I said, it had to be complete. We weren't just going out there to be food sovereign. No, we went out there to remove from the system and to become signatory tribe through sovereignty. So it was complete. Everything worked. So that's what I'm saying. There's a way that people can become self-sufficient in a hurry. Now, again, the protection for Indian people, if they will understand it, that treaty will protect you, not the stipulations. The rule of law that binds treaties. Up here. The rule of law that binds treaties can only be based upon peace. Nothing more. That's it. That's beyond international law. It comes from the foundation that all international law derives from. That's from those 6 Aboriginal treaties, 3 of them being this part of the world. So it's see, the answer is there for us, but a lot of people won't until the last minute say, "Well, we'll see if that works," like we talked about before. I've experienced that. I'm talking from experience. So I don't know what it's going to take to wake up the people. But the main thing is they've got to become totally self-sufficient or sovereign, totally. Their lives and whatever it is that they possess on the land. I don't care, whatever it is. But the point of it is the machine that we've depended upon, we've got to leave it. See, when I went shopping, I started to go to what do you call antique shops. Now those 2-man saws, I got 2 of them. They're big. They're easy to file. I got 2 of them. I got those drills about this round, got different bits, all by hand. They're big drills. Could drill through logs if you want to make a log house, on and on. Got all those tools that did not require fuel or any machine whatsoever to use those tools. They're all hand tools. Spades, you name it, everything. And it was all next to nothing because they were selling those kind of tools cheaply. So that's another resource. I got hold of a friend who's told me he raises bees. I told him I wouldn't mind spend a little time with you to learn the whole beekeeping process. He said, go online and order a book called Beekeeping for Dummies. So I did. And I got to say, it's very complete. I didn't do it. I passed it on to others. I copied pages of the book and passed it on. I know 2 people that were successful. One of them, BC. Matter of fact, I had I'd say about 1/4 pound of honey from his first crop of bees. That was good. Now, we talked about in the future. My late mom, my adopted mom, Anishinaabe, or Nakausko. She was, they say Soto. She said it way back then. She said, there's going to come a day you're going to have to be able to put clothes on your kids' back without going to the store. You have to save all materials. Said the best thing is the cotton materials. You save that. Start to pile it up. Don't throw away old jeans or whatever. Save them. Because there's going to come a day when we're going to have to use it. Because, the depletion of the animals, I don't even want to hunt anymore because they depleted so far down in numbers. They deserve a break as well as anybody else. We shouldn't rely too much on hunting anymore. Start looking at becoming self-sufficient with all the things that are available to us right now. That's what's got to be done. For example, especially in the city, a lot of the people that are in the city, they should start to do that. Look at natural materials, buy them for next to nothing or get them from thrift stores or whatever. Start to pile them up. Because in the future, we're going to need good seamstresses. We've got to start saving. She also said this. She said, start saving needles, all different sizes of needles for sewing. So I told her, I said, there's hand crank machines. Yes, get those kind. But make sure you get lots of needles. Because I got one, hand crank. It's going to cost $180. You could take it anywhere in the bush and just crank, you can sew. Leather, or you change the needle for cloth. So those kind of things are going to be invaluable in time. We could go on and on about that, and we actually should. So when as they say, when the levee breaks, and it's going to, we have got to be prepared, or we're going to be scrambling. If we're not prepared, we better know what to grab when it's time to scramble. If that's what that's what it calls for at that time. So a lot of the things that we look at, like horses, out here, horses are valuable because what I do know comes from the ancestors. Some time back, it was foretold. Those of us who are in the mountains were to provide for those that are coming. Because they said many people were going to be coming out there, they'll be trekking out this way because they'll know what time it is. So we have to prepare for them. So that's what some of us are doing now. I've got, up north, there's still wild horses. My brother-in-law, he traps them once in a while. And some of them are good stock. He's got about 70 head himself. He had some buffalo, but he turned them loose. They're running in the bush now.
Hmm.
So they're increasing their herd. So he did that for a reason. Now, for when you look at all of this, you also have to look at your winters. You've got to find cast iron stoves or very thick steel. None of that metal that burns right through. The fire burns right through the sides. Those old what the hell they used to call them? To me, they're fire traps. If you touch them when they're red hot, a hole would come. We used to do it as kids poking. We used to get slapped for poking holes when they're red hot. Oh, I forget what they were called. But anyway, good stoves, good axes. Some say rifles. Well, if that's what you feel you need. Others say good knives. Well, I've been collecting all the above for years and trading here and there. People like my knife. I make knives as well. I learned that. When I get broke, I go to a sale. My knives sell right away. And most of them, I make them out of the old files, the big, what they call bastard file. No bad connotation on bastard. That's what they're called.
Yeah, no, I know those.
Yeah, that's one of the best metals there are for making knives.
Hmm.
They hold the when you sharpen them, they'll hold that slicing ability for a long time.
Hmm.
They won't dull them too often. Oh, there's a call coming in. I'll pass on it. So, it's blocking the screen here. But
No,
anyway,
I can see you. Yeah.
so the main thing here is when we talk about sovereignty, that's the above we just talked about. It's all inclusive, all of it. Because if you're going to be of the land, which a lot of people say, yeah, we got to go back to the land. Yeah, do it, but do it in a sovereign manner. Remove from the jurisdiction that allows them to come in and put an end to your gardening and your whatever. That's it. The law will protect you. So what I'm saying, expand from the concept of food sovereignty to complete sovereignty, including you, because without you, there is no sovereignty.
Hmm.
You know? But getting back to it, you're right. The earth has been through ice ages. We've survived them. The American Indian has a record in surviving ice ages. Now, so having said that, where when you look at the past, okay, we've survived. The earth has gone through changes. What they call the North Pole used to be the South Pole, because that's the shift it makes.
Hmm.
Complete shift. And the time continuum reverses itself. So we're going to go back to this other world we got to prepare for. So that what we equip our children with today, like, for a while they're going to need to, I guess, rent themselves out, if you will, go to work, in other words. It's like you're doing now. And others, they'll have to go to work to acquire these things that they're going to need, perhaps for their children or children's children. For me, I can handle whatever's going to happen, but I don't want my grandchildren to have to go through what I've gone through unnecessarily.
Yeah,
So
that
to me, that's using knowledge that becomes wisdom when you can live it,
yeah, that's
when
going
it's
to be
useful.
really because with my kids, like they're so urbanized. Everything comes from superstore or whatever. Wild meat is you can't, well, like you said, you touched on that. I mean, the hunting is not as good as it used to be, and even if you can find something, there's a good chance that your rabbits or your deer are going to be sick.
Contaminated.
Yeah.
Now, remember, I told you, remember in Regina, they used to have that, that food bank?
Right.
So a friend of mine used to work there, Ross. He's a mixed blood. He was, I think he was running the place. But anyway, I told him, I said, what we should do is should go out. The farmers at that time were complaining about the deer. They're herding up. Well, they usually do in the springtime. But there's an exceptional number of deer attacking their crops. So I said, well, let's go hunting. Get some fresh meat in here for these people. Deer meat. Because the farmers are complaining, to satisfy everybody. He told me, he said, we can't do that. They won't allow us because the deer are contaminated from what they eat. The grain that they've been eating, the crops that they've been eating, they're contaminated or they're sprayed. And the spray that they're using is very dangerous. It had different names. The last one was called Roundup. Before that, it was called 2,4-D, which Roundup was composed of. 2,4-D, when I did the research on it, with the help of late friend Miles, and we found out that 2,4-D is a cover word for Agent Orange. They used in the Vietnam War to poison the earth so the Vietnamese could not grow food. Poisoned the earth. And a lot of the veterans, it didn't stay on the news too long. This is before this system came along. It was the biggest lawsuit in the United States. And it was advertised, of all places, I got it in what the hell was it? The Vancouver Sun. Just a little blog saying the biggest one of the biggest lawsuits in the United States of America was the veterans suing Dow Chemical. They produced Agent Orange to poison the earth and poison people. So that's what they're putting in the crops today.
Well,
The
here's
same
another.
thing. They're poisoning the earth.
Yeah. And there's also ingredients for fertilizers that are being delayed somewhere, but the whole system is so dependent on fertilizer, and it never used to be. Now, here's a scenario. What if people get together, they become sovereign, they live tribally, they live naturally, they become natural people with, connections to the earth out of town, supporting their relatives in town, whatever. This natural disasters hit, drought, famine, flood, it all hits. The only ones left with anything are the natural people.
That's right.
What are you supposed to do when the ones that don't have that stuff, who didn't get prepared and who can't fit on the rocket ship to fly off to some other star system somewhere, what happens when they come rushing up to the mountains or to the shores of Lake Winnipeg and try to fucking take all your shit?
Okay, here's what it is. That's where, in all of this, wherever you're going to live, you got to be selective with the people that you're going to get involved with. You got to become as our old people were. They 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 had the ability to bring peace to this world. 700 years of peace when the tribal system was in place all over the world. I got the years for it. They have other, they have his story. They call history. I call it his story. Our story paints a different picture altogether. We never ever need of anything. We fed the starving world. I know that the treaty that we were obligated to honor the stipulations thereof. Camel's Eye. That was the last one signed. Because we fulfilled our responsibility feeding that starving world, we were to be given world citizenship. And I know that Te Deum, that sitting at The Hague, that guarantees that tribal people were to be given world citizenship and they were to be acknowledged by the elite of the world. The elite meaning the whatever the present leaders of the world. That's what it was. And they were to be protected by the armies of the world. Every civilized nation is bound to to do everything humanly possible to protect tribal custom and usage. First law of the land, tribal law.
Well, I don't think that's happening now.
Well, there's not enough tribals around. See where the how long I've been at it to try to bring it back, and before my time, Meredith. Well, we're both active, but I guess it was meant to happen when it did that I carry on from him. It's been hard, especially like him, no budget, low budget. So sometimes it's hard. Now we have this system for now. This is temporary because the AI will eventually take over. They're going to put an end to this internet. So whoever is listening in, the best thing to do is download everything now that you're learning here. Because there's nobody else that's going to tell you about things that really matter. There's a lot of things on the internet that say, look, uh, here's what so and so said, this politician said, Donald Trump said. Donald Trump is like the figure that they're using as he's all part of the illusion. He's an actor. They're all acting, even the opposition to Donald Trump. They're acting out. It's almost like a script that's written months ahead of time. How do you react when he does this? They're allowing him to do it because he's backed by those who claim to own this world in relation to real estate, territories and everything else. Simply because they, in this part of the world, whether they believe it or come to know or think they know that the American Indian is gone. Never rise again. That's what their belief is. Now, having said that, where it's not, I'm not of an opposing view. I'm not saying this for nothing. What I'm saying is that if you're a natural being, if you know their law and you know the law that supersedes theirs, what the hell? And you have a treaty that is guaranteed to bring peace to this world. Otherwise, you're misinterpreting it. When you read the stipulations, you're reading, what did Kuran say? That if you don't take it to the international level, what's happening? Then all they're going to discuss is annuities, cows and plows, etc. That's the annuities. That's all you're going to receive. But what did he say? You're to respect and enforce the Indians' position and not to set up latches as a defense against the claims. Well, that's going on now because they reduced it and people agreed to become what? Chief and councils. Way back in the day, they perfected it to the point where by law they can terminate because they believe there's no more Indians. So I'm just saying, hey, hang on here. You're talking to the wrong people in this case. And here's the documentation of law that shows clearly. Whatever your plans are, you better change them. See, for what we've been told and what we've come to know, it's sometimes it's hard to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are two people who were very gifted in relation to being able to talk with the ancestors. What they both said were very similar. One of them said the 4 lanes that we have today, 2 going this way out of the mountains and 2 lanes going in. Said what he's seen, they were standing on a mountain, him and a young man. Said they were looking at the 4 lanes. Those 4 lanes were full of vehicles, all coming this way, loaded with kids and everything else, everything they owned, back of trucks, buses, you name it, all coming. The 4 lanes were full of Indian people coming this way to the mountain. And he said this. He said, most of them won't go, they're not going to make it. The majority is not going to make it. And he said, what he saw, people taking their kids, sometimes 2 of them, carrying them, plus their pack, whatever they have on their backs, walking because the vehicles all of a sudden stop. And that's the end of it. You can't move. The vehicles won't move. So they pack whatever they can on their backs and they're still heading to the mountains. Now he said this, he pointed to me and he said, you know why they're coming. So I just looked at him. I said, well, I know why they're coming because they want to escape the atrocities that they're experiencing, primarily in the cities. Now, so he said, no. They told me something that you know because you said it before. I said, what's that? He said, something to do with fear. Oh, I said, okay, they're coming for the wrong reasons. They're coming because they're afraid. They're afraid to die. They're afraid for their children. They're afraid. He said, yeah. He said, what you're doing, keep doing it. It'll help those people who wake up. That's the way he said it. I felt like I finally got some kind of backing that says people may be going to listen now. Maybe. Because I revealed this, not so much in this manner, but it's too late, like we discussed earlier about pussyfooting around with some of this. Because all those who are against us, they're only going to get stronger and they're only going to succeed more so when there's no resistance. When the energy that we've been given is misused. And the misuse of energy is going to cost us and our future. So I do what I do, not trying to prove I give a damn. I do it because I know I was given a responsibility that I said I would fulfill. So that means I'll help people until I drop. So there's no way out of it for me. In other words, should I be able to make it home for the mountains? Fine. If not, that's fine too. Because my relationship with the other world, I find is secure. I'm comfortable with that relationship. I'm not saying, oh, I've been saved, none of that stuff. I look at it this way, for all the things I've been through in my lifetime, and a lot of things were not, I didn't live a very healthy lifestyle as a young man, but I pulled out of it. The point of it is that that experience tells me that not only me, but people like me were spared, not saved to become the chosen ones. No, you were spared to do something that became your responsibility in life. So that's what I'm doing. I don't see it any other way. It's for me, it's a way of life. So I accept it. Sometimes it's such a wonderful time that I have at different meetings with people.
Hmm.
I meet so many wonderful people among us, you know, and sometimes it's hard not to feel pity for some of them that the veil will never be lifted from their mind. Sad to say. So another man revealed to us. He said he was shown blankets on the ground all over, covering the ground all the way around these towns where these small towns where there's a reserve close by. You saw blankets covering the ground, even of white people. So later on, he said he didn't ask about it or anything. He figured it out. He said those blankets are a curse they have over the people, even their own white people. Said some of the Indians, they lifted those blankets, but very few. In other words, that curse.
Hmm.
That's what it is. So that's they've kept it. I'm sorry, they've kept the old ways from way back, and they're twisting them around, just like Hitler's spiritual advisor, that woman. The hell's her name? But
Eva,
anyway,
Eva
she's the
Braun.
one that took that. Yeah, one of them I forget, but she told him to take that symbol, which is an ancient. The Hopis were the last one to use it, the swastika, and she told Hitler to always use that, but opposite. The swastika was changed to the other way. In other words, it can be used opposite of what it really represented. So that was a sign similar to the tribal sign. If you showed that sign with the circle, the cross with the circle, you're saying you're tribal. You were welcome. Any tribal territory would welcome you. So that other one, that's the real ancient one, that swastika. So when they turned it, it works the opposite. It's limited. I found out years later after I studied what this cultist was doing. Now, so his regime was limited, the time period that he would have to take over the world. He was limited in relation to time.
Hmm.
Because when you mess with something, an object like that, and start to use it opposite, then you're limiting your ability to use any kind of spiritual power. It's limited. It will work, but it's limited. It's not ongoing.
Well-
It will not continue.
I have to tell
But
you,
anyway,
my my time is limited. I have a commitment to be somewhere very soon. But as always, we've led into another subject, and that is not a very pleasant subject, but the symbolism and how it can be used or misused. But let's talk about more on our next podcast about growing our own food, making our own clothes. We touched on it tonight, and I think it deserves more attention.
yeah, it's timely.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
timely.
okay. All right. Well, let's do that then. I'll get a hold of you
Okay.
very soon in the coming days, and we'll continue.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Now
Oh.
that I'm very comfortable with what we're discussing because I experienced it and done it and been part of it in different places.
Right.
It works.
Okay.
So with that, I think I'll go and snooze for a while. Been up half the night.
Okay. All right. Talk to you soon.
So with that, yes,
Yeah. The revolution will not be funded.
no,
Yes.
like I said, it'll be grown.
Okay.
So have a good evening.
Yeah. You too.
I will so.